Sharon Tate, August 8, 1969. Cielo Drive, Los Angeles, California. The 26-year-old actress was 8.5 months pregnant, and a car had just stopped on the road below her house. 4 people got out and came up the slope. One of them climbed the pole at the gate and cut the telephone wires, and the house lost its line out. They came over the fence onto the property. One cut the screen out of a window and opened the front door from the inside. The 4 people who had eaten dinner there were brought together in the living room. Tate asked to be allowed to have her baby first. She was told no. The coroner, Thomas Noguchi, counted 16 stab wounds. 4 of them went 4 inches into her chest, through the heart and lungs. The deepest went 5 inches into her upper abdomen and through the liver. A nylon rope was tied around her neck, thrown over a ceiling beam in the living room, and knotted at the other end around the neck of Jay Sebring, the hairdresser who had come for dinner. Noguchi testified that she was still alive when the rope went over that beam. It left burns across her face. At trial, prosecutors argued that the cult leader Charles Manson picked the house because he had been in it before, when a record producer lived there and turned him down. The producer had moved out months earlier. Sharon Tate was not chosen. Her address was Bob Crane, June 29, 1978. Scottsdale, Arizona. The star of Hogan's Heroes was asleep on his side in a rented apartment, and a friend he had cut loose was still in town. Crane had decided to end it. He told his son that John Carpenter, the electronics salesman who supplied his video equipment, was a leech, and by the same account told Carpenter that the friendship was over. They were together anyway that evening. A flat tire, then dinner. At a club in Scottsdale, people saw them arguing. Crane went back to the apartment alone. He fell asleep on his side, under a blanket. Someone came in without forcing the front door and struck him twice on the left side of the head while he slept. Victoria Berry, an actress in the same show, let herself in that afternoon when he missed a call. The room was dark. She saw a shape on the bed and thought she was looking at a woman with long dark hair. Then she got closer. It was not hair. The blows had opened his scalp and left a depressed fracture behind his left ear. The wall beside the bed was sprayed with blood, and more had pooled around his head. An electrical cord was knotted around his neck in a bow. He had not been strangled with it. He was already dead when it was tied. The cord had been cut from a video camera. Investigators believed the weapon was a camera tripod. It was never found. In 1994, a jury acquitted Carpenter. Television gave Bob Crane a face the country knew, then took the work away. All that stayed was the gear. He was beaten to death with a piece of it and tied at the neck with a cord cut from the rest. Sal Mineo, February 12, 1976, Holloway Drive, West Hollywood, California. The 37-year-old actor was parking behind his apartment building just before 10 at night, and a man he had never met was in the carport. Mineo had come from rehearsal. His part in the play was the burglar, the man who breaks into a home, gets caught, and spends the night tied up. He turned in behind the building, parked, and got out of the car. One thrust went into his chest and through his heart. He shouted for help. Neighbors came running and found him on the concrete between the parked cars, and he died minutes later. Nothing had been taken. The knife was never found. The coroner recorded massive hemorrhage from a stab wound of the chest penetrating the heart, then did something unusual. He poured a cast of the wound channel, a plaster copy of the hole in Sal Mineo, and filed it into evidence. For more than a year, detectives worked his private life instead of the robbery. Then a pizza delivery man named Lionel Ray Williams, held in Michigan on another charge, started talking. His wife told police he had come home that night covered in blood, saying he had stabbed a man. The cast matched the knife she described, and Williams was convicted in 1979. 20 years earlier, the studios had made him famous opposite James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, then cast him as delinquent after delinquent. Then nothing. Hollywood built Sal Mineo out of the street kid with a blade, and a stranger with one killed him for nothing at all. Rebecca Schaefer, July 18, 1989. Sweetser Avenue, West Hollywood, California. The 21-year-old actress was in a bathrobe learning lines, and the man who had bought her home address was already on her street. He had not stolen it. He had ordered it. Robert Bardo, a 19-year-old fan who had written to her for 3 years, hired a detective agency in Tucson, Arizona. The agency asked the California Department of Motor Vehicles for the address on her driving record. The state looked her up and mailed it back. He rang the buzzer. She came down and opened the door herself. He showed her a letter she had written him years earlier, and she shook his hand and told him to take care. He walked to a diner and ate breakfast. An hour later, he came back and rang again. She opened the door a second time. By his own account, she said, "You came to my door again. Hurry up. I don't have much time." He pulled a .357 revolver out of a paper bag and fired once into her chest from arm's length. The round was a hollow point. It tore into her heart. A neighbor who ran out found her lying in the doorway in the black bathrobe, her eyes open and fixed. She was pronounced dead half an hour after she reached the hospital. The courier she was waiting for was bringing a script from the director Francis Ford Coppola, The Godfather Part 3. California passed America's first anti-stalking law the year after she died. Congress made buying a driver's home address a federal crime in 1994. Both laws exist because anyone with a few $100s could buy hers legally. Dominique Dunn, October 30th, 1982. Rangeley Avenue, West Hollywood, California. The 22-year-old actress was rehearsing a scene in her living room with another actor, and John Sweeney, the boyfriend she had thrown out 5 weeks earlier, was outside her house. She went out to the front to end it. On the driveway, he took hold of her throat. The actor inside heard smacking sounds, 2 screams, a thud. He called the police and was told the house was outside their jurisdiction. He called a friend and said that if he turned up dead, Sweeney had done it. Then he went out the back, found them in the dark, and called again. Deputies found Sweeney in the driveway, hands up, Dunn unconscious on the ground beside him. "I killed my girlfriend," he told them. Later he said, "I didn't think I choked her that hard, but I don't know. I just kept on choking her." The autopsy put the pressure on her throat at 3 minutes or longer. There were contusions across her larynx and inside the carotid sheath. Paramedics restarted her heart, but her brain never came back. For 5 days, a machine breathed for a body with no activity left in it. On November 4th, her parents let them stop. Her organs went to strangers. Sweeney had put a previous girlfriend in hospital 10 times. She was ready to testify. The judge ruled it prejudicial. The jury never heard it, and he was out in 2.5 years. Dunn's last released film was Poltergeist, where a house turns on a family and takes the youngest. She played the eldest, the one it spares. Then she was strangled on the driveway of her own house by a man who only had to wait there. Lana Clarkson, February 3rd, 2003, Alhambra, California. The 40-year-old actress had just come off her shift, and the man walking her into the house had pulled guns on women before. The job was a month old. The door of the private room at the House of Blues. Who got in and who did not. She had let Phil Spector in that night, and at closing she left with him. His driver, Adriano de Souza, drove them out to the house on the hill, parked, and waited. They went inside. 2 hours passed. Then the driver heard a bang. Spector came out of the back door with a revolver in his hand. "I think I killed somebody," he said. Clarkson was in the foyer, slumped in a chair, with a single gunshot wound inside her mouth, and her broken front teeth scattered across the carpet. The medical examiner, Dr. Louis Pina, found a bruise on her tongue, consistent with blunt force trauma. He testified. Something struck the tongue. His reading was that the barrel had been forced into her mouth before it fired. Her handbag strap was still over her shoulder, wound around the arm of the chair. To the prosecution, that meant one thing: she was leaving. 5 women testified that he had done the same to them, a gun in a car, in a hotel room, at the door when they tried to leave. Spector was convicted of second-degree murder in 2009 after a first trial ended in a hung jury in 2007. The acting had stopped, so Lana Clarkson took a job standing at a door. That is the only reason she was in front of Phil Spector at all. His lawyers spent 6 years telling the jury that the dead career had killed her first.